Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Heath was somebody I'd met with over the years for different roles. Indeed, I'd met him for Batman at the same time as I met, every actor in town. He explained why he didn't want to do something like that. And he was very polite about it, but very clear. And so I was sort of surprised to get the call, because it really more came from his end about wanting to get involved, wanting to talk to me about what we would be doing. I sat down with him for a couple of hours. There was nothing for him to read, but we saw absolutely eye to eye on the bigger picture idea of who this guy was going to be. We talked about common reference points. We talked about Malcolm McDowell's performance of Clockwork Orange in the film. We talked about Clockwork Orange, the book, and who Alex is in the book is kind of different. We looked at paintings by Francis Bacon for visual reference. We looked at all kinds of things, talked about all kinds of different philosophical ideas behind the Joker and anarchy and chaos and what he would represent. And Heath was just ready to do it. He was ready to do something that big.
I'll settle for a loved one.
So after that first meeting, it was very clear to me that it was going to be an incredibly exciting road to go down.
You remind me of my father. I hated my father.
So we, went through the process of deal making and announcing and everything. And I think the whole world turned around and said, "What do you do?" Heath Ledger, Joker. It didn't make any sense to people at all. We didn't want to have that moment on Heath where we just sort of, made him dress up as the Joker and suddenly he's the Joker. That would have felt very artificial, and so he developed the look of the character with Lindy Hemming, the costume designer, with John Caglione, the makeup, and myself over a long period of time. So we would experiment with pieces of it. What would the shoes be? I think the shoes were actually the first thing that Lindy found that Heath was like, no, those are exactly the right shoes.
This wall is the sort of conglomeration of all the images that we started out with. I wrote there Terence Stamp, Bill Wyman, Iggy Pop, Adam Ant, Keith Richards. This is a sort of, like an amalgam of shirt fabrics and ties. Everything with a little bit of edge and a bit of jagginess. And these are his colour, different colours, kind of safely going towards a really black purple, and then thinking, no, we've got to do it, come back here to the purple, And this is a panel of the final decided fabrics and colours.
One thing Heath wanted to do was to apply the makeup himself. As an actor, he's saying, okay, this character would put his own makeup on, in real life. And so what would that look like if it just got the makeup? The thing that stuck from that is he always had makeup on his fingers and under his fingernails and everything, as he would have from putting it on just with his hands. During the hair and makeup tests, we let him perform. We let him talk, we let him walk around, we didn't record any sound, but we let him inhabit the character and use it as a bit of a test bed, to just sort of do it in front of a few people and start to feel what that would be and move around. And we had some props there, we had different knives and things for him to pick up and start moving with and seeing how that would work. And it was a really amazing experience to be a part of, to see him developing something in that way.
Cortland. Yes, I am. I always have been. Goodbye, Professor. Come on, darling.
No. Stop, my darling. Stop, look. Yeah. That's what you're after. That's what this is about. Take it.
Your secret?
Yeah.
You always were the better magician.
We both know that.
But whatever your secret was, you have to agree.
Mine is better.
In the name of the King and the High Court of England, you will meet your end.
No one cares about the man in the box.
Cutter. Cutter!
Do you have anything to say?
Sacrifice, Robert. That's the price of a good trick. But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I've made sacrifices. Yes. It takes nothing to steal another man's work. It takes everything.
Every magic trick consists of 3 parts, or acts. Now you're looking for the secret. But you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be fooled.
One of the things I love about directing is the multifaceted nature of the challenge.
The idea of a narrative that's a maze or a labyrinth, rather than being above that maze and watching the characters make mistakes and wrong turns. You would enter into the maze kind of looking over their shoulder and make the wrong turns with them and find the blind alleys with them.
There's a feeling of reality, there's a feeling of being somewhere that matters.
I approach the structure from a very mathematical and geometrical point of view. A lot of diagrams, a lot of careful planning. So that was certainly the case with Memento.
Best way to draw it is as a hairpin, like that. That's basically the end of the movie. This stuff is the black and white stuff. This is color. And what we do is we cut between the two the whole way through.
You say we talked before? I don't remember that.
So we alternate scene here, scene there, scene there, scene there, scene there, scene there, and they meet towards the end of the film.
看一看。喂，樓下大堂收唔收到？ 警察在哪儿？他们要来了，我们已经付了他们钱，他们还不来。
It was very important to me that the music not pay any attention to the genre of the film. What I wanted to do was to engage Hans in a very pure creative process.
I was working on a completely different movie, and Chris said to me, if he were to write one page of something, and he wouldn't tell me what the movie was about, but he'd just write one page, would I give him one day, and just whatever came to my mind, I would start writing.
What I wrote for Hans to get him started was some dialogue that I'd written for the film mixed with some ideas behind the film without any indications as to genre or scale, just to free him up from that.
This is, of course, where Chris gets tricky, really about a father and his relationship to his son. It's only later on that I found out that the son wasn't a son at all, it was a daughter. I sat down and I wrote this piece really about what it feels like to be a father and what it feels like to have a son, and I was writing about my son.
When he played me the piece of music which became the basis for the entire score, I thought it was absolutely perfect and captured the emotional qualities of the film that I wanted. And it was at that point that I told him that it was actually a large-scale science fiction film. I hadn't given him any clues about that.
You know, it's not an action film, it's not Batman, it just isn't any of those things.
I think what that did for him is it set him very firmly in a direction relating to the heart of the film. I mean, I listened to it extensively while I was finishing writing the script, and then when we were in production as well.
We went to Temple Church in central London, and we set up a mobile recording system.
They really wanted him to use the church organ. And I also made the case very strongly for some feeling of religiosity to it, even though the film isn't religious, but that the organ, the architecture of cathedrals and all the rest, they represent mankind's attempt to portray the mystical or the metaphysical, what's beyond us, beyond the realm of the everyday.
The live, real human will always give you this extra piece of magic. And we got plenty of magic in Roger.
Roger was this sort of amazing human being that happened to us. This humble man who's just an extraordinary player.
He would play me the sample and said, well, what have you got? And I would give him a selection. He said, oh, that's a little too heavy, or that's a little too bright, or that's a little too harsh. Once he began to realize what the capabilities of this organ were, he began to get more adventurous, and we began to sort of create as we were going. You know, how about this, Hans? Yeah, I like that. That's good, sort of thing. But it's not what he had in mind.
The organ really is a huge, complicated synthesizer. If you think about it, so you have a pipe, and air blows through it, and that makes a sound, and it makes the sound of one pitch. And then if you want to shift color, you add another pipe to it, and you add more pipes. And so it becomes these really very, very complex harmonic structures. And there was this endless discovery going on for both Chris and me, you know, where Roger would take us through all these different voicings and all these different colors.
You can even go a little darker. Actually, then we should go for this sound.
There's something very human about it because it can only make a sound with air, and it needs to breathe. And on each note, you hear the breath. You hear the exhale.
You feel a human presence in every sound. And I think that was very important to keeping the film about not just the space that we're looking at, but the people in that space. There's an intimacy as well as massive scale. Sometimes within a few bars, there's that shift. Pulling out all the stops, I now know what that expression means for real.